Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk, your home for all your betting tips and expert analysis, not only for boxing but for a multitude of sports like football, horse racing, basketball, and a lot of different events. So please check out the guys at sharpbetting.co.uk down below. It's myself and Owen here discussing build up to the huge domestic clash between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn in London. And we're going to be kind of talking about one side of the equation here, and Chris Eubank Jr. These two were originally supposed to fight 2.5 years ago. It's a long time in boxing, especially when you're at the age Chris Eubank Jr. is. So we're going to be discussing if we think he is past his best to, what we've seen back in the day when he was beating the likes of a James DeGale and those sort of names. So yeah, Owen, it's a pleasure as always. I hope you're well. Let's jump straight into it. Chris Eubank Jr., 35 now, I believe. He's had a long career. This fight, as I said, 2.5 years ago, this was supposed to originally happen. Where do you see Chris Eubank's kind of, well, I suppose physical state being at now and, his prime years? How much past his prime do you think he is now compared to not even when, as I say, you know, he was beating the likes of a James DeGale, but even since this fight was originally supposed to happen?
Um, I think prime Chris Eubank Jr. You're probably looking around, for me when he absolutely obliterated, you know, I suppose yeah, Nick probably when he obliterated Nick Blackwell. For me that was probably a prime Eubank Jr. I was trying to think maybe a different phase of his career, but he's definitely past his best. He was probably better again 2.5, 3 years ago. Probably looking at a different Eubank Jr. I think if you look at the Zerameta fight, he looked good in spells, but only in spells. I do think he took that very lightly, that fight. I think he knew he was better than Zerameta. I think he knew he'd beat Zerameta. And I think, again, he knew he could beat Zerameta when he wanted to, how he wanted to. He could have stopped that so much earlier. So I think there's that. It's a difficult one because people argue all the time. What was Chris Eubank Jr.'s best? Was he world level? Was he European level? Was he in between? Was he a gatekeeper? It was a difficult one because Chris Eubank Jr. has always been one of those. You watch him on the pads, you watch him on the heavy bag. He is the best boxer ever. He's unbelievable on them, and he's done it in the ring. But if you look at say like the Billy Joe Saunders performance where he took half the fight off, disgraceful. So he is past his best, but I'll be honest. I think Chris Eubank Jr. at his best beats Conor Benn, and Chris Eubank Jr. way past his best beats Conor Benn. I think he might have beat him a bit more emphatically to him, but I think even being past his best, he's still a level or two above Conor Benn.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think it's undoubted that he is past his best. The age, the length of career that he's had. Um, you know, the recent performances, the loss to Liam Smith, as I've kind of mentioned on other videos before, that to me, that is down to the weight. Kind of, he was in preparation of kind of boiling himself down to a catch weight for the original Conor Benn fight. That's why the chin wasn't there. Somebody that went from taking bombs off George Groves at 168 is getting stopped by Liam Smith then, so he did rebound from that, and as I say, he got the job done against Zeramete. Probably did kind of go through the motions there and take him quite lightly, but yeah, as you say, he is past his best. Maybe his career would have kind of will end up as a bit of a what if. He has all the attributes. As you say, when you see him in sparring, hitting the bag, he has the attributes, the showmanship, the athleticism, the chin, to kind of maybe have done more than he did. But yeah, maybe his mentality kind of held him back there. In terms of this fight, I'm curious to get maybe a percentage from you. You know, you said there that Chris Eubank Jr., who's way past his best, still beats Conor Ben. What sort of a percentage do you think Chris Eubank Jr. needs to be at in this fight for Conor Ben to have any sort of a chance here to beat Eubank?
Um, I think Eubank at 75% still disposes of Conor Ben. I think what you've got to factor in is Conor Ben's a lot younger. Um, he's a lot faster. He's sharper in those aspects. But, you know, realistically, if we're talking weight, Conor Ben's a 147 fighter, naturally. You know, he's not even big at the weight. Whereas Eubank probably walks at what, 180, 185, probably walks around that weight, probably even towards 190. So on the night, he's probably going to be what, one, I think it's a £9 rehydration clause. So Eubank Jr. is going to be in that 168. So even a Eubank Jr. at 75% is still going to be what, £21 heavier than what Conor Ben is used to being hit by. Now, a stone and a half extra is massive. And I think people probably taking it a bit lightly, you know, because they see these boxers jumping up through the weights. But being hit by someone, I know he's going to be sparring heavier, but being hit by someone £21 heavier than what you're used to fighting at is a huge difference. So I think that is one of the main factors as to why Eubank wouldn't necessarily need to be at his best. He's going to be the bigger puncher. He's going to be more powerful. He's more skillful. He's got better footwork, better combination punching. So I think anything below that, Ben's youthfulness and speed could see the better of him. But I think if we're talking sort of theoretically, and you're talking both at their best on the night, 75% Eubank Jr. gets the job done for me, and that a 75% Eubank Jr. now is nowhere near what he used to be. That is way past his best. A couple of levels below, like I say, that Nick Blackwell performance, James DeGale, etc. So yeah, although he's past his best, he's not shot by any stretch of the imagination. So I think 75% would see it done.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think it's a good kind of percentage to throw out there. I think Eubank at 75% deals with him and deals with him comfortably. You know, I don't think he makes even much of a fuss of it, even at 75%, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know if we'll find out if we're being too kind of disrespectful to Ben or not. But, you know, as I say, the only chance Ben has had here is by severely diminishing Eubank's weight, dragging him down to a catch weight or imposing a severe rehydration clause on him at 160, because he really does struggle to kind of boil himself down to 160 these days. But yeah, even then he'll make it, and you know he should deal with him quite comfortably. But yeah, a lot of questions to be answered, so we will see. I can't wait for it. I'm sure Owen can't wait for it as well. April 26th, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Ben. Just discussing how past his best is Chris Eubank Jr. and will that be enough to get past Conor Ben? Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Get involved down below. Please like the video. We'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media. And of course, check out the guys at sharpbetting.co.uk down below. Owen, it was a pleasure and take care.